We will be talking about a nursing theory created by Jean Watson, known as the science of human care. A little bit about Jean Watson. She's a nurse theorist who focuses on the science of human caring. She is known for her work in developing, maintaining, and exemplifying patient-centered care. Watson received her Bachelor's of Science in Nursing from the University of Colorado in 1964. She then earned her PhD in Educational Psychology also from the University of Colorado. She has 10 honorary doctoral degrees in her name for her extensive experience working in mental health nursing and caring science. Watson lost her eye in a golfing accident, and then shortly after lost her husband, who tragically took his own life. It was this experience of loss that led her to create her theory. Watson says on her website, I quote, "I had to learn to be still, to surrender to all, to let go, to learn to receive, to be open to unknown mystery and miracles. It was the mystic and metaphysical and spiritual practices and inner experiences that carried me through." End quote. It was losing the world as she knew it, losing her eye literally, metaphorically, and symbolically, that she felt an awakening and began writing about her mystical experiences. This led her to learning about openness and love, which led her to begin formulating the nursing theory we are talking about here. Watson created the theory of human caring between 1975 and 1979 with the desire to distinguish nursing science as separate from other healthcare professions. She has since written more than 20 books on her teachings. Beyond that, Watson was a distinguished professor at the University of Colorado Anschutz Medical Campus, where she held the first endowed chair in caring science. She was president of the National League for Nursing and a founding member of the International Association in Human Caring and the International Cartius Consortium. Watson is the founder and the current director of the Watson Caring Science Institute. The core concept of Watson's theory is that nursing as a practice should be one of equanimity and should be done with deep loving kindness for one's patients and, just as importantly, for oneself. This can be achieved by being truly present with patients and colleagues and by cultivating one's own spiritual practice. The core concepts include a relational caring for self and others, meaning a strong love for both the self and others, and this can be achieved by creating a solid foundation that morally, ethically, and philosophically embodies love. There are multiple ways to cultivate one's own caring science, which I will speak about in a bit. Formation of transpersonal caring relationships is the next core concept. This concept is embodied by doing things such as heart-centered healing and caring, having an authentic presence, maintaining inner harmony, and practicing caring consciousness. All these phrases Watson has coined to mean that in order to embody the science of caring, a nurse must go beyond ego to a more spiritual caring. A nurse must make a moral commitment to protect and enhance dignity and truly respect or love a person as well as the self, and then honor the needs of others the way one would honor one's own needs. A nurse must also practice and honor wholeness of mind, body, and spirit in the self and in the other. The next core concept talks about caring occasions or caring moments. These are heart-centered encounters with another person. This is when two people with different backgrounds come together and share a human experience that is meaningful, authentic, intentional, and that expands each person's worldview and spirit so that each discovers something new about themselves and new life possibilities. The next core concept talks about multiple ways of knowing, and this enables us to use many modalities. There are many ways to cultivate one's own caring science through studying science, art, listening to one's own intuition, and through ethical, cultural, personal, and spiritual exploration. The next core concept talks about the reflective and meditative approach to nursing. Understanding one's own role in human caring through the reflective meditative approach means increasing consciousness and presence to the humanism of the self and the other. By doing so, we can better determine who we want to be as nurses and the impacts we want to make for ourselves, our organizations, and our patients. the next core concept is that caring is inclusive, circular, and expansive. It starts with the self, then expands to others, and then to the environment and nature, and then ultimately to the universe. As deep, pure caring expands, it changes the individual and the other and the environment through the caring occasions or caring moments discussed above. It ultimately changes a person's worldview for the better. Lastly is Watson's 10 curative factors, redefined as the Caritas processes. These are 10 guidelines meant to help nurses put love and heart-centered caring practice into action. While we won't read through each here, the takeaway to note is the ideals of compassion, caring, healing, authenticity, wisdom, and love. We've included a full list of the guidelines in the additional resources section of this presentation. Watson's theory in relation to the nursing meta-paradigm person. Watson believes that in order for a person to be considered fully healed, only the total healing of mind, body, and soul could accomplish this. She views the person as the recipient of care, and that this person includes their spirituality, culture, family and friends, and even their socioeconomic status. Watson's own theory of human caring aims to satisfy the person meta-paradigm by acknowledging that each individual has his or her own unique set of needs. She feels it's essential that nurses accept and validate a person's needs regardless of their customs and beliefs, as this is what defines the person. She also feels that in order for a person to be fully healed, a holistic approach which focuses on mind, body, and soul is imperative. Each individual patient needs to be valued and understood, with the nurse always being authentically present. Additionally, each patient deserves the right to have their dignity and privacy maintained and protected at all times. Watson's theory in relation to the nursing meta-paradigm, health. The meta-paradigm of health refers to the quality and wellness of the patient as defined by each individual person. For Watson, the meta-paradigm of health means that the act of curing refers to more than just the healing of an illness, but also includes mental and spiritual healing. She ties in many of her beliefs from the person meta-paradigm and integrates them into her definition of the health meta-paradigm. Watson believes that although curing is part of the process of achieving health, it is much more than a physiological response. In order for health to be achieved, nurses must take a holistic approach with patients, one in which is structured around a complete balance of the mind, body, and soul. She states that in order for healing to be effective, there needs to be a complete balance of a patient's physical, cognitive, and spiritual self, which ties closely back to her definitions of the person meta-paradigm. Watson also identifies another important aspect of health as the nursing assessment. It is crucial to assess patients based on their individual needs in order to maintain optimal health. Patients in acute healthcare settings, for example, may require multiple assessments daily, whereas patients in other areas of the nursing field may require less observation. Watson states that illness prevention is a crucial part of total health as well, encouraging nurses to consider the whole picture and long-term goals when working with patients is a large part of health. She also believes health should be addressed on a day-to-day basis. This is due to the fact that the health of a patient can change drastically in a short amount of time. Watson's theory in relation to the nursing meta-paradigm environment. According to Watson, the patient's environment affects their ability to heal. While caring for a patient, it has been proven beneficial to the health of the patient to establish a home-like environment. Providing a sufficient level of privacy allows the patient to feel more safe and comfortable. Noise levels should also be kept at a minimum. As a result, patients are more likely to feel calm and relaxed. Proper lighting and access to nature instill an uplifting feeling and reduce stress and anxiety. This can be achieved by opening windows or taking your patient outside if possible. Watson's theory in relation to the nursing meta-paradigm, nursing. Watson suggests that establishing meaningful relationships leads to patients feeling more comfortable and safe. A strengthened bond can also lead to nurses gaining more patient information, which helps to promote better healing. While science and medicine are important therapeutic components, focusing on the patient as a whole and treating their physical, mental, and spiritual needs is equally important. Watson stresses the need for nurses to educate their patients. Nurses should be leaders who are able to teach patients to take ownership of their well-being and promote better health. Watson's theory application to nursing practice. The element of caring is a fundamental practice for nursing, both for the nurse and the patient. Nurses must first care for themselves in order to care for patients and be present during every interaction. Self-care will look different for each person, but some examples of simple practices for busy nurses include exercise, ensuring adequate time off from work, planning time to be with friends and family, or specific stress reduction techniques such as meditation. Performing a self-assessment for a nurse's individual morals and beliefs allow the nurse to establish a set of values that can be used to empathize and care for patients. Additionally, as nurses, it is important to recognize each patient as a unique person and not just simply as a patient. Nurses should conduct individualized nursing assessments to evaluate for each person's unique needs and wants for the mind, body, and spirit. This allows the nurse to build connections and spend less time guessing what the patient wants or needs. Examples of how to address the health of the mind include caring moments that we discussed earlier. This is taking time to have uninterrupted moments with every patient to promote conversation. This is a time when a person can discuss both positive and negative emotions surrounding their care, and the nurse can explain the daily plan of care to the patient and family and friends. Including a patient in planning for long-term goals makes them feel equally involved in their own care. For the body, nurses serve as patient advocates. This means ensuring that the patient's physical needs are taken care of, such as advocating for pain medication if a patient is experiencing pain. The nurse can independently control the environment for the patient that may promote healing, such as opening the curtains for more natural light or by clustering care to allow for rest. For the spirit, nurses can cultivate caring relationships by including all social supports in care, such as family and friends. This can help strengthen relationships for the patient that may have been lost during an illness. Additionally, it is important for nurses to foster culturally appropriate relationships to help establish trust with the patient. This means understanding the cultural norms for touch, eye contact, and ways in which their culture expresses respect. Nurses can offer appropriate spiritual services as well, such as pastoral visits during inpatient stays. An example of how these practices can be utilized is with the mental health population. Nurses can use the uninterrupted moments, called caring moments, to discuss goals and the plan of care with the patient. These caring moments can also be used to discuss guidelines for the patient, as well as give the patient the opportunity to discuss how he or she is feeling. Caring moments are essential with the mental health patients in order for the nurse to fully understand the manifestations of the mental health issues. With this understanding, nurses can form trusting relationships with patients. Strong relationships lead to better outcome when nurses need to intervene and redirect a mental health patient when he or she expresses the issues that they are dealing with. It is important to ensure that the needs of the body and not just the mind are met. Mental health patients may still feel physical discomfort related to their diagnoses, and nurses may need to advocate, for example, for pain management interventions. For patients with depression or anxiety, pain can be particularly intense. By helping ensure that a patient's pain is well controlled, the nurse is helping meet basic needs and showing they care. In terms of spirit, mental health patients can feel socially isolated due to their diagnoses. By including family and friends in care, a patient may not feel as isolated and are more willing to build caring relationships with friends, family, and the nurse. The mental health population is a good example of how nurses should holistically treat a patient using the science of caring theory. These are the 10 guidelines that outline ways to cultivate deep, pure, loving kindness toward the self and towards others. So you can take a second to look at these. The most important point we took away from our research on the science of human caring is that it is rooted in deep, pure, loving kindness. Not only that, but it starts with the self and cultivating legitimate respect and love for oneself. This is the most important aspect of being able to truly respect and love another. And that is a journey that every nurse should embark on in order to comprehensively care for patients' mind, body, and soul. One last additional resource. This is a picture of the homepage for the Watson Caring Institute website. This has a wealth of information on Gene Watson and the science of human caring, if you care to take a look at it. And that is our presentation on Gene Watson's The Science of Human Caring.